Okay. Greetings. I am Pinata, and with me is my co-host Peter, and our guest today is Anthony.
Hi,
Anthony, if you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Anthony. Using my gamer tag is Teps. Last name Scalzo. I write for Gold for 10. I helped out with a challenger team a little while ago known as Roar, and then I just kind of do some minor analyst work on the side. I'm a big fan of Korea, so happy you guys had me on today.
Peter, any news of Go Sick Boy?
Oh, news. So not this week yet, but
Soon.
His PC is in the shop right now, so hopefully next week it should all be cleared out, and he'll be back. He's very sad he can't be here again, but it's coming. It's coming.
And Prague is coming back soon. Yeah.
Okay, so let's start off with the first games we have, Wednesday's games, which was, let's start off with Jinair and Anarchy, which was, everyone must say, a terrific game of watching Anarchy be Anarchy. Everyone can stop hyping the crap out of them because they are a challenger team that made it in with no support staff. Though they do have Hachani, but that's not, they didn't have him then.
Hachani.
They didn't have Hachani yet. They had him in the second game.
Yeah. I like when he walked in the booth. They were like, "Is that Hachani? Like, is he gonna teach him how to face check?"
They were so surprised that there was someone in the booth. Like...
Yeah, they're just some guy with a white shirt and jeans on, aka the Anarchy uniform.
I mean, that's what that whole team looks like. So you couldn't tell the difference.
So, do you guys have anything significant to say about this? I mean, besides Pilot showing that he could play different champions besides Corki and Ezreal?
I think it's actually somewhat relevant because we haven't really seen like Pilot to this extent. Like we haven't, he was normally playing like Corki and a lot of like defensive stuff. So seeing more of a hard carry role is quite interesting. Like I don't know if you saw Fion's piece where he did a thing about how OQ and Pilot are kind of like evolving and maybe they could take it to the next step. Like maybe not right now, but like at the end of the split they could be real threats. So I feel like this is even though Anarchy is not the best team, it's a good example of like what Pilot could become. And on the flip side too, it unfortunately shows kind of Anarchy could get shut down even more easier this game. Like it didn't seem that they really could handle the whole like mid lane pressure scenario. Like if that happens, there's not really much for them to get back into the game.
Yeah, Anarchy really is looking more and more like a one threat team. All based on Mickey Cod.
Yeah, and he got outplayed by GBM.
Yep, GBM, that boy showing the fact that he actually has ridiculous champ role.
Mickey is LeBlanc is very underwhelming.
It's like questionable because it seems to be right up his alley, right? Like he's a big assassin player with Zed and everything like that, and then it's like picks LeBlanc and it's not that great. So
it was not impressive.
Yeah, LeBlanc game was a bit disappointing, but then again, he didn't really have targets besides Rumble and Lulu, but without a silence, you're not going to kill Lulu.
Yeah. And almost every time, you got close, there'd be a wild growth or kind of some kind of shield, and at that point it was very difficult.
Yeah, I think he kind of got baited into that pick because the rest of the team, I mean, Alistair, Sejuani, Urgot, you're not really going to kill all of them unless you go full damage Urgot. And I mean, is there anything else really significant? And I mean, we're going to talk about the new 4 teams. Well, not the new 4 teams, but the 2 new teams in the league and the 2 that had to fight back their way in at the end of the show. Kind of talking about our overall thoughts of them at the end. So, anything else on Jinair?
Do we expect Jinair to use Captain Jack again or more? Because they haven't used him, right? Not that anymore.
I feel like Captain Jack was the training wheels, and then they're just slowly letting him, fly on his own now. Like he's the pilot, literally just trying to slowly get out there. And I think we'll see him in sometimes. Like I think if they start having a bad streak, that they might swap away from Pilot. But I think for the most part, it's gonna be Pilot. I really don't see Captain Jack coming back for the most part.
Well,
what about you guys? Think they might sub him in a couple more times?
Well, now that he's also playing other AD carries, I'm kind of thinking they might want to keep Pilot more, like train him up more. But I don't know. It depends.
I mean, they might bring him back if they think there's like Callista might get released. If they really like, 'cause that was probably his most signature piece. like I saw from last split. So
Yeah, I'd say definitely it would be very interesting to see if Pilot could play Callista. I mean, he was able to play Vayne. I mean, they're not similar. Like, I'm not good player, so I don't know how similar they are. But the fact that he was able to move his pool out, they want to keep playing him. They're going to need to have him play Callista, as you saw. We'll talk about later in the KT game. They didn't even first pick it, and they kind of gave it over. But that's for later. So, anything else with Jin Air then?
Nothing specifically. Chip.
That was a pretty easy, clean series for them.
pretty stomp.
Safe play. Like even the second game when they got behind, they kept it cool. They didn't. Anarchy couldn't snowball it further, and then they won that one team fight and Storm steamrolled the base with Baron buff. So easy win.
And then we had probably the best series of the weekend. Well, the week, I guess, because it wasn't the weekend. But Wednesday was the KT versus CJ. The number 2 and number 3, I would say, of the league playing, and CJ did come out ahead.
So barely. I want to emphasize how much Coco carried that series, like so hard. Like I can't even say. Second game when they won, he dominated lane, had such a huge lead, and every time every fight he was such a threat and that flash ult on 4 man, he hit Nagne, instantly burst him down. I was like, are you kidding me, Coco? This is why we love you, man. But since I kind of was rooting for KT, I was a bit sad. It's definitely the third game was so sad they lost that, because the amount of dragon fights they barely won CJ because Coco had the great ult or the zone, or some they just made that one wrong move in the one direction, and then they ended with Ambition stealing Baron because he's new. That was just sad for me. After KT playing so good the entire game, just barely not winning so many fights.
What do we think of Mad Life this series? I felt like he was probably one of the biggest playmakers going around his signature thresh, obviously, but really seemed to step up in some of the dragon fights. The hooks were quite games. It seemed to like lock them down really bad. Like I remember the time when they locked, like Someday came in and he got instantly hooked and just completely stopped any form of KT taking over the fight. So.
Yeah, Mad Life was definitely there to protect like the entire time, but yeah, I don't know. The main thing that I remember from that series is just game 2 of Coco's Casio just completely taking
nuts.
Control of the game, and the fact that there were 2 Yasuo bans.
Yeah, well, what is
meta?
Well, then should we talk about game 1? The solo laners go absolutely nuts. Like this, Someday going 10-1 on Yasuo.
They picked Cass in, I was happy, and then they just got bodied like so badly.
They had like no wave clear. I just didn't like the game 1 comp from CJ is just it reminds me similar to the Najin one from last week where they
what AD carry did they pick? I can't remember.
It was Urgot.
CJ had Urgot. They picked Urgot.
So it was like Urgot.
Rolls KT. They had Sivir. KT.
Not Sivir. No. I mean CJ. Yeah, CJ. Wow, why would you pick Urgot?
Why pick the Urgot?
Yeah.
Because Space likes to pick his champions.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, we could have had a Vayne equally as much.
Yeah,
I honestly don't. Some people love to pick Urgot, and as many people have said, Urgot either shows up and is like, oh my god, he totally dumped on them, or just doesn't do any, like, he's just sitting there shooting out some cleavers.
There's no middle ground for Urgot.
Yeah.
So that's a real big issue.
You have to be like extremely lane dominant, or you're just gonna get dumpstered. Like there's not like you're never gonna see like an okay Urgot. It's either gonna be like hard carrying or the reason why you're losing. So
it's lane dominance and comps you have to play against, and wits of course.
They didn't lane swap that one, did they? It was straight up Yasuo versus Snar, right?
Think so.
That was very questionable.
There's no way
of why
like too good and I didn't lane swap, I remember. Because he roamed from top lane to mid a couple times. Yeah, that was just pure snowballing. Like
there was one point in time where I think he's just going around and he like just like EQs and he's like literally two-shotting the jungler and things like that. There's just I thought it was an absolutely like bizarre game. It seemed like when people talk about like a dicking around game, like that to me is one that's just like it was just so one-sided that it didn't seem like anyone was caring at a certain point.
Didn't they get like first blood like super early, like 4 minutes in the jungle? Yeah, that was that game. All right, yeah, that was
Yeah, you got it on Ambition real quick. And
Ambition,
then
Ambition being so greedy, starting at the bottom side, and then
Doe made the joke of Ambition is still gonna he'll jungle, but he'll still die first.
still, even in the one of the safest roles, sort of.
Even if he plays Gragas again.
He's playing Rek'Sai. It's like
yes,
you could
he was
just go
nice.
underground and see him coming at you and run.
And that was
But-
super early game.
Yeah, the first game was really the issue. I understand you want to be a bully with Urgot, but you can still be a bully against Yasuo, and if you make one champion pretty much irrelevant, I mean, we've seen Yasuo's done pretty well across multiple regions now, where he's been able to play a specific matchup, be pretty good at it, and then kind of either fall off or the team behind him is strong enough that they can kill them during the knockup.
Yeah.
So.
Mhm.
I mean, that was the biggest thing was that, and then we have the monster Casio game, which was just
Oh my
disgusting.
god,
He was
a complete hard
so
carry.
good.
Yeah.
Like, they were getting ahead and ahead, and we still kept them in a gold league.
And then we had KT. My biggest issue with Game 3 about KT was the Evelyn. I don't see Evelyn being the greatest pick. Like, I don't really understand
it
why
has
she's
its-
being picked so often.
It
I
has
think-
its uses.
I think the only intention here was just the fact that like you have Nunu, they have Shyvana, and they don't have the greatest like early game from Ambition. So I think the idea was just like we can just try to snowball lane really fast and then go crazy because they had the Hecarim top. But the one thing I thought was weird, I think like if they're gonna play that style, they should just have Hecarim take Ignite and just try to go for like some crazy snowball top lane like they did in the first game. They took Smite and then they just kind of played not that great. So that was just. It just seemed weird that they didn't have a clear objective what they wanted to do in this game.
So even if that Rek'Sai was still up, I would
Yeah.
still have taken Rek'Sai
Rek'Sai
over Evelyn
over
if
it.
you want to do.
Just have
if
been
you
a
wanna
safer
really
pick.
Yeah, if he was open, then he should have. I mean, there are a few because Evan is actually good against Nunu because you can cleanse the snowball because you have that slow removal and stuff. So there are some reasons why you would pick Evelyn. Like you have the invisible threat. A lot more people have the big pings. So I mean, I definitely noticed that today. I can remember which game it was. So we'll probably get to it.
KT versus Jin Air, both games, he score played Evelyn. It was great. I mean, I understand it can be good, but again, there's sometimes I just think people saw Clear Love win a game on it by doing almost nothing in MSI.
And to be fair, that's more Score style, right? Like Score over last season, which is playing Lee Sin nonstop, and he was like the Jankos of Korea. He was just trying to get first bloods and just rolling. And now
He had to.
Yeah, that was like but he was like trying to fix like what was the analogy they're using? He was trying to fix a ship with 3 holes with 1 plug.
Yes.
So I feel like the thing is that with Evelyn though, like it's always like that Clear Love thing too, where you can create invisible pressure. Just like picking Evelyn creates so much pressure. But the thing is, eventually after a while, you still need to pull out some ganks to keep that fear installed. Where this game was just not the same level as the others. So
I just think Evelyn needs to get going much faster, and like she needs to actually get going in order to continue to scale. Where a Nunu, a Gragas, Sejuani, Rek'Sai, you can just build a couple items, and even if you're Rek'Sai with Cinder Hulk, you're still going to be relevant with the knockup and the percent true damage she has on her Q. I think it is, or E or
yeah,
whatever.
it's true damage. It's true damage.
she
It's
has
flat true damage. Actually, it's not.
But I mean, she can still be semi-relevant with that. But Evelyn just seems kind of what.
Yeah.
Do you go Cinder Hulk? Do you go Warrior? Do
Yeah,
you
to go
go
Warrior.
Warrior
for
it just
damage.
seems a bit weird that if you can't get going, you just kind of fall real far behind.
Well, I don't really think Evelyn was a problem, but yeah, I think Rek'Sai, if it was up, it would have been better for team fighting. I think Evelyn has it's not great, but it has a place now in the meta, sort of.
I think she has her place, but I don't think she's what people have been saying of, oh, she's like the next if Sejuani, Gragas, and Nunu and Rek'Sai are gone, go to Evelyn. It's like,
yeah,
they're not totally blown away by a lot of what she's done in games, but
and I think Rek'Sai, just with the global pressure plus the sight you get from Tremor Sense, is really hard to take Evelyn. I mean, like if you are really like clear level on Evelyn, there could be an exception, or it's like a weird comp rabbit.
We'll get into scores Evelyn later.
Yeah.
That was like I was watching like, no, stop winning, damn it, you're going to ruin my point. But
No.
It definitely has its place. I think it's a lot more niche than just blanket picking it it seems to be teams are doing.
I agree with that.
Which should be more reserved for Rek'Sai. Like that should be the blanket pick, where Evelyn should be the niche pick.
But I mean, talk about score. Like that entire series, he just bodied Ambition.
Oh.
Like KT got
talk
ahead
about score
every
for
single game. Like
the entire past season.
Yeah.
Or split or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Score was literally, if he doesn't do well, KT was just like, well, we're gonna lose. Might as well just accept it.
Well, in the battle of lane swap junglers, clearly Score is the better one this season.
I mean, we can say Score is clearly the better one of the two, but I still have to say I'm getting more and more sold on Ambition.
I like Ambition.
At first,
I like Ambition, but like, KT is actually getting to a good level as a jungler. Where Ambition is still at that crap Korea level where it is right now.
I think he's more like. You go.
No.
I think he's still skating by the fact that Hojin and Wisdom are on Ku, and they're not like there's just not many superstar junglers that are coming out. I mean, we have another role swap with Tucson, and then there's just not enough strong junglers because, as we'll get to the next series or Friday's games, there's a certain team that refuses to play one of their best junglers, but we'll get to them. So you guys have anything else to say about KT CJ? I mean, it was though there were two kind of stompy-ish games. They were very. I thought that was a very fun series.
No, I would just like to say it's like a pretty big. The game one was really big outliner. I feel like people are going to be like, oh, Yasuo top is really good now, or someday might be back and pretty good. It just seemed like a really weird game, like out of the blue that didn't fit how normally even when KT get ahead, it wouldn't be that bad as far as a snowball. So
I think if you look at the entire series though, like since KT was always ahead, I think games like that are more like to happen in KT's favor right now. This is why, alright, I think CJ still has it, but I think next time they come head to head, I think KT is going to take that series cleanly even. I don't know. They feel to be growing much better than CJ does. And CJ still has to bank on Coco doing good. Because there's not much coming from the others. Not much. No.
Yeah, I say KT is definitely a third place at the moment. When they come back and they play again, they can threaten again for second place. But I mean, Someday is definitely becoming a much better, growing balls and is actually carrying out of the top lane instead of just being I'm on Renekton and I can carry now. But yeah, definitely just the whole team is getting better. My biggest improvement I've seen throughout all the KT games is Arrow.
Yeah.
I remember Arrow when he was paired with Hichani, and that was... they would lose lane every game unless Kakao just came in and just, hey guys, here's 8 kills I'll give you. I hope you don't die again. Oh wait, you did.
And that's still a win game for you guys, don't worry.
Yeah, the biggest aberration for that team has simply been the acquisition of Fixer. I don't know where they found him.
Oh my god, this guy.
He has completely turned around how he hasn't turned around the entire team. Obviously, they've all been playing, but he has been oh, wow, we finally got the person that is going to be able to help us turn this ship around. And you can see everyone improving slowly, but improving. So, KT is definitely a very interesting team to look out for.
Yeah.
I think we saw more with KT was last split. I believe Nogday's I think one of his most plays was Lissandra, and they just seem to take flex picks and just play this very safe reactive style. And while Score is trying to make plays around the map, and when your jungler is the only one making plays, it's very difficult to get ahead. So it would just seem that a lot of dragon fights would just be very lost. And with Fixer coming in, especially his Alistair play and some of his Thresh games eventually got banned, just huge setups for some of these plays that would really snowball their advantages or even take over a fight that they probably shouldn't have even won. But I think Fixer was the X factor that did make this team really become into a top 5 position, I would say, pretty comfortably.
Yeah, KT really just didn't have any playmakers outside of Score.
Yeah.
That's split. So now we have the great and illustrious Ku Tigers versus Samsung, and we got to see Bard.
Yeah, not on sweet, but
Yeah, that's true. We got to see 2 Bard games and a Riven game. It was very unique pick. This entire series had unique picks.
And Rek'Sai top.
The Rek'Sai top with Cuvée.
It's pretty good.
Almost won them like the series.
Yeah, it was disappointing that they lost that series actually.
Yes, that first game was like I'm gonna have to rewatch that a couple times because that game was, the way they played was amazing.
Yeah.
The Bard, the Twisted Fate, and the Rek'Sai just making picks around the map with the almost 4 global abilities.
Mm-hmm.
That was.
Because then you had the Gnar teleport, but that was an amazing team comp, and it was clear Ku was not ready, and Prey didn't have the best. I mean, he didn't have the best positioning in his Jinx. It's hard, but I have seen, and I know not a lot of people like him, but I have seen Name. People apparently don't think he's that great, but his Spring Split, his Jinx, he just knows where to stand and not take damage. But Prey was not him. So Prey was pretty much been the biggest, I think, issue for them is his just overall play.
Yeah,
has been
Wisdom, not.
Well, their jungle, but their jungle last split was an issue, but everyone else was playing so that it kind of covered it up. All he had to do was counter gank. He didn't have to be didn't have to make crazy plays. He just had to be there and not be bad. Like, ambition of the last split. So that, you guys have anything else to say about that? It was phenomenal, full comp they had bought up for game 1.
It was just amazing comp. I hadn't seen anything like that in a while. I was really impressed with Samsung, a team that last split barely could get a series, and doing that was amazing. I think their entire series was actually. I mean, they had a lot of tactical play, Samsung, which was very impressive. Comps they actively must have practiced, and they were really good on most. Second one could have been a little bit better. But first game, that was amazing comp, and how they executed it was great. That's how you abuse Bard right there, and globals. Great.
I mean, I don't. What do you guys think about Crown though? Because he's been okay, but I mean he's better than Bliss. He's better than Bliss.
Wait! I think Anthony muted himself.
Oh yeah,
by accident. Yeah, I think he does because he's reacting. There we go.
There you go. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's okay.
Okay. Go ahead. What were you saying?
I think you were saying something.
I was trying to say. Okay. So basically, the only thing I was trying to say is that I think it's just Samsung as a team. They're not ever been the best mechanical players, but they definitely last year. They're probably the innovators of Korea. I think that's their biggest thing. Last split we saw them playing. Eve was the only one picking Italy. In this split we see them with all these wacky picks and trying to, push and all these various strategies coming out. So, is it if assumingly that the players get a little bit better, maybe we can develop more talent here, especially with, you're saying, Crown. He's not looking like he's going to be able to duel with Faker yet, but maybe he can get up to somewhat of a level. Yeah, maybe get up to a middle of the pack level eventually. You think something like that, get to a decent level, and then start actually becoming, you think this Samsung team is good enough to get to the middle of the split, or do you think they're just still going to fall to the bottom?
They may be able to sneak for a 5th spot, maybe, but
yeah,
I think 6th, 5th is probably the best for them.
More reliable.
That's the optimistic part. 6th, 5th.
Yeah.
I think they're looking good for the bottom team, though.
Yeah, for a bottom team, they're looking much better because they're at least they're trying stuff, right? Where a lot of teams are just kind of. Sbenu is kind of just falling over. So.
I think Eve showed again that he's actually.
I think Eve's really good.
A good journal, yeah. I said it last year that he's actually.
Yeah,
people ignored him because he was he was playing in Samsung, but I think he was actually actively trying stuff more. And
well, Wisdom is an interesting pickup for Q. I actually really wish they picked up Eve. I think that would have been much more interesting swap.
That would have been smart, yeah.
Yeah, that would have been. I think that would have been more of actually putting farming the talent from the bottom teams and putting it to the top teams, but.
Or getting Swift.
Getting Swift.
Getting him back in there.
Yeah, get him from that LSPL team.
I mean, there's also we've seen teams go to NA that are Korean junglers that have shown up. I mean, we haven't. I don't know if anyone's really seen Move play, but I mean, I don't know if he was considered for the team. I have no idea. I haven't seen him play, but There just seems there's got to be some place to find junglers besides going, oh, let's go grab the guy from IM that stopped playing there.
Well,
Again,
look at Rush. They found Rush, and he's top of the standings. Like they can, you can kind of pull it out. I think it's just. And
I just
Rainover is
think
another example.
They could have found someone. I don't know. They still should be looking for that. It's a huge position to kind of put into a weaker role with either of those players. So we had Bard game, and then we had the second Bard game that didn't really work that well.
Well, it was they snowballed their stuff pretty good, but I think a few things hurt them. Is like really weak scaling on like 3 of their champs. I'm not sure Bart really doesn't seem to scale at all. Because he just dies in T-Bites. You just saw him die to Cassin. He had Lee Sin, who eventually didn't do anything. But it was so
and
close.
Corky.
And Corky, yeah, right. So these 3, and then but Rek'Sai and whoever was mid playing, I can't remember. They were TF, right? Yeah, TF. That game was so close and so. So they had the scaling disadvantage, and then also they so barely not winning that 2v2 in top lane.
Yeah, that was.
It was just too sad, and people didn't maybe care about this in the patch, but they emphasized so hard on split pushing, and Riot hates split pushing. They nerfed everything for split pushing, so it's almost impossible to do. And even if you succeed, you still get almost no reward right now. They got all those turrets, but they almost give no gold anymore. And even though while they were sacrificing kills and turrets, other ring turrets, to get that split push going and to actually get that inhibitor down, they get no gold income at all for it. And in the meantime, Ku was getting back in gold, and the golds, everything was just so not in favor of Samsung. They tried too hard for the split push and then weren't able to execute when they had that inhibitor down. If they had practiced that, if they had known a bit better how to execute when they got the inhibitor down and actually pushed for it, they could have won. But I think they really showed off on Ku, and they were just really lucky to win because they just had better scaling champions.
Oh yeah.
And Samsung didn't, and finished them off.
But I think the biggest issue they had there was the Twisted Fate and Rek'Sai were in the same lane. They both got caught a little too far up, and then got that was the worst thing right there. Is that as soon as they got caught, they needed to just run. One of them had to run because Rek'Sai could have teleported into that Civil War that was sitting up there by the Nexus, or TF could have poured it away. But you can't have both of them die because that's your threat of we're going to backdoor and we're going to take it before you can kill all our turrets. But after that happened, you could just see the game was.
Part of the split pushing is creating space, and then through that, then you actually have the team kind of running around with the head cut off. And it was kind of Ku got the upper hand, but he'll just pick them off before it even started. So they didn't even generate any pressure from it, which is just a disaster for split push. And another small thing too that's I feel Riot is really trying to push this optimal way of playing the game, which is really the Dragon and Baron, and especially Baron being so effective at pushing towers. It's very, very difficult for compositions like this to work unless they're executed to near marquee, because if you let's say they even lose one fight, it's just going to be a huge gold swing and then into a Baron and into just all that gold's going to come back with all the push towers down, where it's not whereas split pushing, it's a little bit more difficult.
Baron is such a dumb priority. Definitely, if you realize they would have won the fight if Baron didn't give that stupid recall bonus. So you can't even say lose inhib against Baron, because if you pick Baron, you always win because you immediately get the recall, you get the buff, you get the gold. Baron still gives so much gold because it still gives 300 for every player. While you get an inhibitor turret down, you get 300 gold global for a Nexus turrets.
And then this is
1500.
And this is also attributed to the fact that people are doing Baron so fast. Maybe not in this game in particular, but we've seen games where SKT's been taking Barons at 21 minutes and 20 minutes. If that's possible, it's very difficult for you to try to split push against something like that. So
yeah, with the current meta, with Callista being a high priority, of Cassiopeia being a very high priority, and there's a lot of champions that are being picked right now that can just destroy Barons so quickly with percent damage. But it was I mean, that team comp was so good, but you can't really hold a like 1-3-1 with a Bard, Corki, and Elisa, and they're just gonna get jumped on and die.
Yeah, they're just
That
gonna
is a
get blown up.
problem.
Um,
It's so close. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, the issue there too is the Sivir was banned against them, so I mean, that was a big. I mean, I'm pretty sure they would have prioritized Sivir if they could have.
Yeah. It's more bad from Cool.
And then we have the third game with the Riven pick, Smeb Riven top.
It's actually quite good. I gotta admit.
And if anyone doesn't know, this is like Smeb's one of his favorite
Yeah.
champions. Most famous for soul killing impact in that game.
I am, yeah.
They never let down. That was during K's prime too.
Oh god, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Ah, that's so good.
But
I mentioned on stream.
it was a fun game, if anything. So
Well, it was, I think, Samsung trying to do the Protect Jinx and not doing a particularly terrific job of it with the Lulu mid, Thresh, Nard, Rek'Sai. They didn't have convincing. They don't seem to be very convincing in just protecting one threat. They've been much better in their games when they've had all of their lanes either not being able to carry because they can't all carry, but at least not being a Lulu mid that gets kind of pushed out of lane.
To do it sometimes, yeah. This map played that room really well. Like, I think it maybe over deserved he didn't really deserve maybe MVP, but the way he played and absorbed like aggro, like every team fight, they tried to kill him so hard that they totally ignored like half the other guys, and when they eventually didn't do, then he just killed him, which was it was sad to see those team fights. Samsung was not prepared for that room at all.
no, you were not.
No, I mean, as we've seen with this is Samsung's only game this week, but or series this week, but they've had they've obviously shown significant improvement over the past split, but still have some mid to late game shot call issues, just positioning near the end of the game. But they have definitely like improved to the point where I've been looking at them with a different eye. Though then again, they have been playing the slumping coup, but it was still great to at least see them pick up almost the entire series that second game. So heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So that's another thing. Do we think Ku is dead? Like going from such a dominant spring split to then
Kind of.
Okay.
I mean,
is the dream over? Is it just dead here?
For the current meta, yes.
Yeah.
definitely. Like we all put them pretty low, like low mid of the pack. Look.
What would it take for Ku to get back into the running to be a real contender like they were last split? Like what's the big change? Is it just jungle meta again, or
A meta shift.
Mostly. Yeah.
mostly in the jungle?
I'm thinking.
I think kind of middle too. Kuro has been
That
not
utility player.
as hot as he was before.
Mhm.
He's just. I'm surprised because I thought like Azir would be a pretty good pickup for him considering his other champions isn't play. Like he played Spring Split, it seemed like he controlled and he thought he would be able to do well on it, but he hasn't really shown the same Kuro he was beforehand,
No.
which has been an issue with him since he's been playing. But I think they're still fifth. I mean, that's when we were talking about if Samsung could make it and like how high could they make it in the playoffs, fifth spot. Fifth spot, I think right now is kind of Ku, IM, and Samsung are kind of fighting over it. And if Ku can improve
Jin
enough,
Najin.
I think Jinair's full.
I think
I mean Najin. I wasn't. I mean.
Let's not pretend.
It depends on what the junglers play.
It pretends who they're playing the entire time.
If we have more Gungan watch, I don't think we can see Najin very high. But
I think Najin is its own issue, but that fifth spot I think is up for the grabs, and depending on if Jinair wants to play the rest of their games in hard mode, then the fourth spot is up there too for all four of those teams. But you guys have anything else to say about that crazy Wednesday's game?
I was disappointed. So close.
So close to 2-0, yes.
So close.
it was close. I think this series was a little bit more sloppy than it had to be. Just once again, I felt like more dicking around here, or more. I would say more instead of dicking around, more experimentation, if anything. So it's early in the season. You know, the teams are going to try stuff like this. They're not going to go as hard as when, you know, the playoffs are coming up, and especially when Worlds is going to be on the line. So this is just a good, you know, see where they're at. You know, maybe if you know, it went a little bit differently, we could have seen maybe more Riven picks. You know, maybe we'll see more top Rek'Sai. We don't know, but
I need to top Rek'Sai as potential. Really.
Now we had a great series between SK Telecom and Najin.
See, this is exactly why last week had a question mark between that series, because it was total shit. Like, it was not. I mean, it was good for SKT. Like, they totally dumpstered Najin, but like, it was not entertaining. I mean, it was not competitive at all.
No. Holy crap! That game. It just Goong did not look good on like.
I actually liked watching some of these team fights because I thought there were some really good Sejuani ultimates, but from watch even. But it felt like it just, like you're saying, Goong was so far behind this game. Like, I think he got bullied out of lane twice by Faker, like literally just making a recall, and there was like a 50 CS gap, and it's just like, what are you gonna do at that point when Faker he literally was stepping so far forward that he got 1v2. Yeah.
Got that one.
Not only that, but their comp was completely reliant on creating picks and then having uneven advantage with the Ari and the Vayne. I mean, they needed to pick someone off really quickly. So, and then the freaking Nunu top.
that was a little bit of style.
That was Nunu support. Sorry, Nunu support.
Oh yeah.
Nunu top was game 2. It was game 2.
That was game 2. Yeah. Actually, that Nunu top, even though it was like totally dumb, because the fact that he was AP, Duke had to build magic resist, and that totally opened up Faker and Bank to totally destroy him in team fights because he had almost no armor.
Like, he built so much magic resistance here. Did he have Hexdrinker on top of Merc-Treads?
Usually,
he had Merc-Treads and Cow.
Did he have Hexdrinker though?
No, I don't think.
No, he didn't. He usually does build it though.
No, I think
he did. No, he did build. I think he did build it because usually always.
I'm trying to check right now.
Duke loves Hexdrinker because he likes to be aggressive.
If you go Cow first, I don't think you ever bother with Hexdrinker. Hexdrinker is the first item, like always, pretty much.
Yeah, like Hexdrinker into like maybe a health item into armor.
His end game was Merc-Treads, Hexdrinker,
Oh,
Spirit,
see,
Spectre's
actually
Cowl,
when it's...
Warden's Mail,
Okay, yeah, I
and
see
Giant's
when
Belt.
it's-
Yeah, like
Yeah, okay. Yeah, see that's
way too much magic resistance against just stupid Nunu.
See, this is right. It was dumb, but it still fucking was effective just because Duke was so magic resistant. He built so much MR just because he was annoyed by the Nunu.
God of the Ages Nunu top lane.
It was just
Sounds like solo queue games.
And I felt like this was a way to, because obviously when Nunu, with all that AP he had stacking, consuming a minion, restoring so much health, it was just a way to stop Duke from doing anything. You know, normally we see Duke as being the carry of Najin, so him just being rendered, forced to, it's almost like picking, like top Cassiopeia or something like that, just kind of trying to completely bully out the other top laner. And it just felt like he was doing this game, just like, we're just going to shut down Duke's 1v1 potential, and then the whole map just opened up for SKT. Plus the fact Faker was styling on them, so.
Yeah, because what I see otherwise they pick is, they have to play AP top lane. So otherwise they have to, so they go Rumble. But I guess they didn't want to put Marin against Duke on Rumble. I mean, he got bodied more than one. Like, Duke makes his living of just bodying Rumbles with Gnar, so it's not surprising that they wanted to just pick something safe.
I think Duke makes his money off of bodying top lane.
Yeah.
He still won him. He still won him.
He did.
He did get
how I don't know, but
yeah.
But yeah, the Varus mid pick has been interesting. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that. Besides, I mean, the amount of Qs you can put out at late.
It's actually
it doesn't seem like it has a cooldown.
Yeah. I noticed that one. Like, it's literally Q charge up, leaves, and then like a second, and then you do it again, which it's actually quite interesting. It's actually not that bad. But like sometimes when they picked it in the rest of the league, it was like, dude, that comp doesn't make any sense. You have like no peel. Like, at least have some kind of peel. Like, and I mostly liked it in SKT's comp because they also had the Sejuani. Like,
and the Janna.
And they always pick Janna pretty much with that comp mostly. But the Sejuani makes such great synergy with the Varus ult into Sejuani ult.
Well, I mean, I just thought the entire comp was great. You have Nunu who can just sit there and ult, and Lucian and Varus can just hit you from within inside the ult. and if you get too close or too clumped, Sejuani is gonna again ult you, and you're stuck there as you just get destroyed by Varus's ult. And it just there's so much you can't touch them at a certain point.
Yeah, they're
Now,
complicated.
and if we go back to looking near the playoffs, I mean, if we literally if we move this comp around a little bit and we swapped out for Sejuani for a normal, like maybe Anar or something, which is pretty close, or like, Lulu here for Faker, it was pretty close to a little bit of the whole keeping, what is it, the pretty much the core of the protect the Bang comp was usually having Bang on Lucian and then having him blood boiled and plus like some kind of peel, which usually was Lulu, but in this case we had Jaina. So it seemed kind of weird that they did a very weird version of it with top Nunu and Jaina support, but
Yeah.
it's still somewhat of their style where they can just kind of fall back on Bang when have him just slowly carry the game like he did in that in the playoffs.
But now Faker also gets E damage.
Yeah, now they can use it.
Which is always nice.
And if Bang dies, they're just gonna bubble a Faker.
That one team fight was just disgusting. And then they just assassinate 3 last members under the turrets. Lambs to the slaughter. All die. That was total domination of SKT, not surprising. I mean,
yeah. So
I like that Najin is staying with 5 members right now, and they're not swapping out every game. But we want Peanuts, please.
Yeah, we really want. And like I said, I don't think Peanut is still good in this meta because like he was playing like Rengar and aggressive like Lisa and stuff. But at least it gives him time to evolve and adapt. Like this is ridiculous that he doesn't even get to play a single game this season yet, and just Goong is just rotting there too. Like it's like we're not going to see Goong at Worlds this year. I think we need to.
Ari, he's relying on Ari, and he still can't win every
Yeah, like Ari and I guess LeBlanc even.
My issue with Goong and Watch is that if you want Peanut and Peanut is going to be the future of your player, just put him in.
Yeah.
Put him in.
Even if they lose, at least gives them something to build up with. That's what I thought their strategy was last, but even though some of the games, the swaps are really weird, this game they're just keeping all the veterans in. Like, what is this going to do at the end of the day? Like, at the end of the season, we're really going to see, like, Goong holding up, that cup? I don't think it's going to happen with this current team.
Not all the veterans. Thankfully, OQ has played every game.
Well, yeah. They realize OQ is... They finally accepted that...
OQ and Duke. Luckily, Duke, I hope it will never move unless China grabs him, so...
I would say I think Duke is pretty safe there, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Tank is the hero that's going to save Najin's mid lane, but
Not his
I think
Karthus.
But Goong is leader.
if you have Duke, Peanut, and OQ, I think I said it last time, and I've said it on Twitter I don't know how many times. Just get a supportive mid laner who's going to play the Ori, the Lulu, the Z, just people that can throw up shields and sit there and not die in mid lane, and then just let Duke. Yes. Basically,
Dude,
get an Easy Hoon or an Easy Hoon like player.
That team would be
The
so
team would
good.
destroy.
Peanuts, Easy Hoon on that lineup. Holy shit.
That would be a
so
reinvigorated lineup right there.
That's
It'll never happen.
Yeah, no, it will never happen. No.
You don't need Duke and Goong and OQ in your as your 3 main carries because they're all just I want to get the kill, I want to get the kill, I want to get the kill. I mean, Duke has shown that he can play tanks, but he's been dominant on everything he plays. So obviously he's great. But then you have OQ and Goong. You can't have 2 of those people on the same team that are just like, I'm going to dive and flash for the kill. But we just lost the dragon because of it. And that was the 5th one, buddy.
And you kind of have to tailor the team to him, right? You need a little bit more like safe players, right? Like Easy is a great example, or someone that's really going to appeal from you. Like maybe another example is a Wolf player. So someone that can help hold OQ down. We can't have all these people going crazy when you already have Duke and OQ on the team. Like how many more aggressive players can you have on the team, which is just going to be a giant mess. So
I just think that I'm glad Najin, again, like you said, Peter, is there having the same team. I just think that they need to shuffle the roster and keep that roster and just let them play.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
Watch can stay in the bench. He can play a couple games, and then they can say if they make it to the Worlds, hey, Watch is here again as a player.
Exactly. He can look nice to the camera and stuff.
It's his 4th World.
Hey, Peanut.
He can show up and beat up like a low-tier EU or NA team, or beat the international wildcard team if they get grouped with them. Okay. Anything else to say about either of those teams? I mean, obviously we know we're SKT's currently performing. They're obviously they're the best team.
Well,
And then we have Najin, who's as I think Monty put it in the recent Summoning Insight, they are the unicorns of love of Korea.
That's very true. They just have this, like I said, they just throw everything at them and hopefully that something works.
Have no idea what they're doing.
Yeah.
Well,
Compositions don't make much sense either.
I'm just glad we are seeing some more Tom Faker, since I want that to go
more
forward.
variety.
Some more practice on that. See how it goes.
I mean, who do they play beforehand? They played Sbenu. Did they play Tom? Oh yeah, it was with Easyhoon, wasn't it? Against in week 1.
I remember Easyhoon one game at least week 1.
Yeah, only
Yeah.
one.
And then we got the easy Ezreal game, 25 minutes stomp.
Against the lower teams, even if they want to keep Bengi in against the actual games they matter, like against CJ and KT, where they think they're going to have a challenge, that's fine. But I would just throw Tom in when you're playing a non-CJ KT team, please.
Get that practice in.
I mean, Tom clearly seems to be better when it comes to team fights, but I still have issues with his early game, where Bengi is clearly the better person. If we need to get ganks and we need to make this game happen, I would take Bengi. But with enough work, I think Tom could do that. He seems to like to farm to 10 minutes and then walk out of the jungle with actual items.
Nice team fighting.
Okay, well, we next have the fabulous game of IM versus Anarchy. Is there anything you want to say about this game, or should we just move right on?
I don't want to watch Top Nautilus ever again. I'm just so I know Trace tried it once and that wasn't his fault, but I just really don't want to watch Top Nautilus.
I just mostly want to say Anarchy just keeps being annoying against most teams and pressuring them out a bit, but they're really not showing up after the hype they got from promotions tournament. Really, they're lacking.
Ignor's
pretty good.
Very good.
Also, why did they play CV Max again? I don't get it.
Yeah, that was literally what I was gonna say next. Is I don't understand why CV Max is in all 3 of these games.
Because he's a Hecarim god.
To be fair, I'm actually more surprised how bad top lane from I forgot his name really quickly from Anarchy. How bad his Gnar was actually in that matchup.
No, you mean Apple.
Oh yeah, Apple.
It's
previous part of the Quantic.
It's not it was so bad.
He builds Frozen Mallet a lot.
It's not actually that bad, but I don't get why you don't build Black Cleaver on Gnar these days against Hecarim. He got even 1v1. You should win that matchup every single time when you're playing Gnar.
I just think he's no Duke level player to really be I don't mind the Frozen Mallet build, but I don't think he has the skills to pull it off as effectively. So
yeah, that's true, I guess. I hated that series so much.
This was really messy.
A lot of kills though, but come on. Got annoyed for every move they made.
What do we think about Mickey getting banned out? Getting his Zed banned all 3 games? Is this the way to just beat Mickey now? Just make sure.
I think it's 5.9 now. I think they should have let him try it and see if it still works. I don't know. I think in that series, he really got shown off how bad this LeBlanc is. He's so poor in those team fights. I don't know. He has so little impact on LeBlanc. And even that game they won, he was.
Yeah, the only game they won. When they had him on Lulu both games, it just. Nothing.
Game 1 and Game 3 were protect the Jinx comp, and they just obviously that's not how they should play.
It just doesn't seem their strong suit.
They're a mid-centric team.
And they have him on
You
Lulu.
need to get him going. There's not a lot to talk about. Anarchy is going to be Anarchy. I think they're going to have a lot of best of 3s going to 3 games because they have that random game where they're just, how are we winning? Doesn't matter, guys. Just go. We're winning.
Go with it.
I think they can take games off, but I don't know how many series they're going to get. If they're going to play protect the ADE 2 games out of 3, you're not going to win that series with that team.
Nah.
Okay, on to another disappointing game that was a disappointing Saturday. Or wait, no. Now moving on to Saturday, sorry. The first disappointing game of CJ versus Sbenu.
Probably the most like already people knew what was going to happen at the start of this game, and just as expected, it did not live up to any to any of the I thought this game was going to already be like just a whole like trashing of Sbenu, and it's basically what happened. I mean, like I was just like waiting for when CJ was going to win the game. That was the whole game. There wasn't really. I mean, Space is styling on them with Vayne. Like when it gets to that level, I mean, I would I would just start.
He was actually good at it. It's like, oh my god, what's happening?
Yeah, I forget. I think it was Kafka said he couldn't watch it. I just tweeted at him, "Don't worry, Space picked Vayne. I think Sbenu has a chance."
It's the one time we'll see like a good Space Vayne game, but
I think those are the only ways that Sbenu honestly is gonna win this split. Is that they're gonna get a team that just BMs them and pick and ban is like, wait, what does our comp do? I don't know. We picked it for skins.
I mean, most of this game too was over before Epic and Bangs. We have Mad Life Thresh, Coco Azir, like Shy Rumble, like I mean, I guess you have Space on his Vayne, but like I don't understand like what they're gonna do against that. Like that's way too much, and like they have Rally on the other team. Like they're not really gonna disengage. It's like
oh my god, that first game was Sbenu had Alistair, Rek'Sai, Aurelia, Sivir, LeBlanc. It sounds like they're not gonna scale well. And what do they do for the first 20 minutes? Nothing.
They can't even team fight. Aurelia first bought a Triforce, which isn't.
When was First Blood wasn't until like 15 minutes in, right?
Yeah, there's.
Like you can't do that.
But what are they gonna do? Like, what is the angle that Sambu can fight? Like, it's literally like
they have to gank. They have to roam and
gank, snowball, roam. Like they have to do anything to get kills, dive whenever.
Yes. They need to throw the kitchen sink at them in the first 15 minutes, or else just go, well, we lost. I mean, they have
they had the early game with LeBlanc and Rek'Sai, but then there was just the game was so elongated that nothing happened. Eventually, then CJ started completing some of their core items, and by that time, Coco and Space were so big that it was just over already. Like it felt like nothing happened, and then they just like for free, like they didn't even contest it. I felt so.
At level 6, they have everything they'd need to dive, and they never did. It was just really sad to see them just laying themselves to death.
Mm-hmm.
That happens with those picks.
And then we have the fun throw of Varus.
Oh my god.
Which is hilarious because at the same time there was a throw in China where LGD won because they were thrown to and they also had a Varus. Like they were throwing the ball and they were like, sweet. And I was like, wait, there's two Varuses and both enemy teams are throwing at the same time. Am I watching the same game? So it was very sad, but you can just do that to Sbenu, is just wait for them to just screw up in the late game and take advantage of it. It's a better team.
Literally that team fight at Dragon where they just totally lost it because then they got the brain out of it. I cannot believe how bad that was played. It wasn't play. It was a team fight. Sbenu was just standing there. Half of them were attacking the dragon, and then they finally realized, oh shit, we're fighting, and then they all had to run away because they were so low. How Sassin is from the mid lane, I think. I keep forgetting his names. How he did that dragon fight, it was brilliant. He was attacking the dragon. He was tanking the dragon. He got hit by Q for virus. He was just attacking the dragon. Then the chain of corruption like kind of spread towards him, snared him, did all the damage. Then he got hit by another Q, then another dragon attack, and then oh shit, we have to get the fuck away from here. Even though I have 3 offensive items, I should one-shot their entire backline with just casting Hemo, play QE, and then pulling under them. But no, I have to run away, not cast anything, and then die to another virus Q. It's like, that's how you play Vladimir, man. That's just awesome.
Like it's not as bad as a solo queue game where they're just no coordination, but it really just looks like as far as their strategy is like we'll just wait and. If you beat us, you beat us. Like they really just wait. Like I don't understand it's just like nothing at all to try to get into the game. It's just
the weirdest thing is that they actually had a chance to win that game until they just decided to put their boot on their head and walk away.
They had such gold leads, and Vladimir destroys AD carries. Like when you have Fed and have dead cap, like triple offensive item Vladimir, you have so much damage output. It's ridiculous. Like. It's so ridiculous how much damage. You never expect a Hemo Plague, and then it hits you for 600 flat out damage. And like it's dumb. It's dumb how much damage you do. And they were like, nope, let's not engage, even though we have. I don't know. Sbenu, that's Sbenu for you. It's just.
And they were even winning the second game. I mean, you know, you have
a lot of help thanks to CJ and their not great play.
I mean, I think there was one point in the game where Sejuani I think it's like behind the tower, and he solos Coco. Like, it was just at a certain point.
Oh my!
It was the ace at bottom.
That ace just totally.
That really early.
That that snowballed that game, and then they still managed to throw it.
Coco was walking back up. I'm gonna shoot a Q off and do nothing, but I'll show them, and then oh shit, Sejuani's here, and I have like under 100 health.
Oh yeah, that was such a good ace. So unexpected.
Yeah, but if you can't win with an ace after like in the first 10 minutes, you're not gonna win.
Yeah, that was the sad thing.
They had like a 10-2 kill lead and all this stuff.
It kept going. Yeah, it was insane.
Doesn't matter when they have ridiculous wave clear. They can just Sivert, Varus, Rumble away waves, and you guys just sit there and wait till you make a mistake. And CJ's like, "Oh, great, thanks. We'll take the game now."
That game.
Well, talking about that game, I had the exact same feeling as the next series happened. It was supposed to be good. Jin versus KT, and that was pretty interesting series. Again, didn't get to see Bard, or Sweet play Bard, but
the permaban.
I think it's gonna be permaban for like most of the split.
We'll see. Maybe a lesser team won't let it go.
Yeah, I don't know. It was funny. But KT outpicked him like so hard, like both games. It's like second game was pretty much the same comms playing against each other. They just swapped the mid laner for another hero, but like the comp was like in the core the same thing for both teams pretty much. So I don't know. Jenner got owned in the pig band so hard, and then they just got silent during the game as well.
The biggest issue for me is as soon as Jenner lost, Pilot went right back to Corki. It was just like, I'm just not a big fan. Like they had a bit of a squishier team, but there's just other carries than Corki that are viable that you could play. I mean, the only AD carry that was banned was Callista.
So we had some weird picks this game. You know, we had once again the Yasuo seems to be a favorite of Korea for. And then what about the biggest thing for me was LeBron coming back, which is pretty odd. You know, I don't really see Braum ever picked anymore. So what do you think was the reason behind this pick?
Fixer.
Like,
Fixer's Braum is really good.
Yeah.
His Braum is really good.
God,
I think Fixer's just really good in general. Yeah.
How he can block those false Braums, I find amazing.
Yeah, he was blocking a lot of rockets that game.
God, yeah. Or when
more impressive was the Foss bombs in the lane. Those were like, wow.
That should be annoying lane, but they still managed to go pretty even. Yeah, it's just Braum is just he's not a bad champion, and he definitely works good with like a lot of 80 picks and stuff. Like but Fixer just knows how to play it, and they're good with it. So why not?
So the biggest issue I had with Game 2 of the Yasuo pick was when Cassiopeia was able to get first blood over the wall and just spam E. That positioning of the Yasuo's W, the win wall, was just pitiful. Like it was not protecting anywhere where it should have. And if you put that up, they would have been able to get that free kill and walk away from it, and it ended up being a 2-for-1 in favor of KT. And you're just like, you pick Yasuo for a lane counter, you can't give that up and expect to continue to have a chance in the game.
Yeah, well, it's a good matchup, but I guess Cassiopeia still has so much more versatility and actual good damage output. Yeah, and if you fuck up the wind wall, then you're pretty fucked.
GBM just seems a little off this series, so.
Jenner just seems so on and off. Like sometimes they will just put themselves in a hole before the game even begins, or in like the first 5 minutes, or other times they'll pick the champion, and be like, no way, and it'll be like, oh my god, that was fabulous, that was a great idea. They decided to play hard mode against KT this series, it seemed.
It's just a very odd comp in general from them coming out, and I mean, I guess I saw them just trying to, hopefully just trying to get like some huge Alistair knockup plus Yasuo, but it just didn't seem like it was clicking this game.
And then game 1, the Varus and Vayne. Do you guys have any comments about that? Those two AD carries working together? Like, we've seen Varus comps in a bunch of regions, but I don't think I've seen a successful one with Varus and Vayne. They just don't seem to be.
They have no synergy, and the entire column had no protection for them. Like, I don't see how they hope to like survive team fights without Varus and Vayne just instantly dying. Like, Varus has poke, Vayne wants to skirmish. I don't see how that fits too greatly together. Difference with like Chase, in that case, like he has both because he can poke and then skirmish as well, so that makes a bit more sense as like old days. But Varus Vayne is 0.
Yeah, would it make more sense to just go with like the whole Corki Varus? I mean, like we said, we know Pilot being a very big Corki player less, but so wouldn't it just make common sense here just to play Corki and Varus together? Like if Varus doesn't even seem that's that kind of style of his play style. Which,
I think Ezreal would have been even.
You got Ezreal, you got Lucian. You've got
a lot more longer range AD carries than
so
Vayne.
many.
Yeah, you pick one of the shortest ones.
It's not even that Pilot's a bad Vayne. It's just this was not the composition of the game to pick it. It just there's no reason to. There's nothing really advantageous for it. So
the biggest issue I had too is Vayne and Varus were their 4th and 5th picks, and they already had seen they're playing against Kalista, Cassiopeia, Maokai, and Evelynn. So they already have a team that's going to jump onto the back line and is going to be able to do consistent damage, and you're going to have some sort of support thrown at you. So let's pick 2 champions with the team with our entire appeal is a Equalizer, a Alistair, and a Rek'Sai knockup.
And even saying, was Urgot banned this game? They could have taken Urgot just to counter Kalista.
Yeah,
Sivir was banned.
It was a whole.
It was definitely a Bard and a Gragas ban. So I think
Urgot was open. I know.
Sivir, Gragas, Bard, LeBlanc.
Okay, so yeah. So there's another pick. There's a lot of AD carry picks on the board that
really messed up in big bans.
I just think it's just the oddest pick ban for them. And like I don't even mind. Like I think Varus is like I think Monty said it's very similar to how Xerath was last split for GBM. Like he likes the long range skill shots, and we did see some high accuracy, but it still seemed once again not this is the game to play it. So
I think you need to find better comps around Varus, because the problem is since it's AT, you cannot just. It's way harder to just build a comp around it because you're very dependent on having Rumble top lane. Which then opens you up for not really having a good front line. So it's a bit annoying to get a good comp, but what they did was just pure awful. Like,
yeah, I definitely agree with this top lane Rumble. They really don't have, and even a Rek'Sai, so it's not going to be the tankiest composition coming in. I guess they've kind of
no front line.
Yeah, they kind of figured maybe they have Alistair, but that's once again, it's just too. I think it still was not the greatest versus. Especially since they had so much harder games too, but they haven't, Maokai and other things like that. So it's just, I just don't think like they were against Maokai and Annie, and they have double AD comp. It's just they're gonna get blown up in a fight.
Well, they didn't know the Annie yet, but
yeah,
that's gonna come.
No, but they knew they had Kalista, so it's. I mean, they picked the Alistair away, so it's gonna be a champ that synergizes really well, and
we even saw that. I think there was that mid lane at one point where Fixer got a huge 3-man stun and. 2 of them died, I believe it was, and then GBN eventually just got cleaned up. It was just like we're Pilot, one of the 2. There was just nothing. Like if there was one engaged, like if KT engaged, they just had nothing to stop them. They could just roll over them. That's exactly what happened this game.
KT mindfucked them so hard by daring them to pick the Kalista, and then they just picked it and just
picked it themselves
afterwards.
I can't believe that. You can't not first pick Kalista in Korea at least. It's just so strong.
It's such a high priority.
If you don't want to first pick it, then then they should have banned it like themselves somehow, because they know KT actually likes to leave that open. They do it. They have done it before already. Trying to play balls with KT is not a smart idea. Just ban it yourself if you're not willing to first pick it against them. So.
No. And KT is definitely the better pick ban, one of the better pick ban teams in Korea, maybe one of the best. There's not too many teams that just can pick like they did, which is kind of sad because I mean that was Janair's calling card last split season, whatever. They were able to pick so many flex picks with Morgana, with Lulu.
Mhm.
No one knew what was
It
going
was
to
so
what
difficult
lane.
to ban out, I think, which is what, yeah.
And it was
I
so
think we
difficult to
definitely
just
agree,
pick.
Yeah.
It was so difficult to
Even
pick
doing
because you
picks.
never knew what was going to go in your lane. And they
Every-
could all play those supports or the mid or top. It was very,
Mm.
very nice to see. And then you have this, and just like, man, they have not the Janair we saw last season at all.
No.
I think it's, once again, come back to another meta shift. Like, this is just similar to Q Tigers. Like, just seeing both of these teams just seem completely out of this meta is not in their favor. They really don't seem to like even like we've seen good performances from Janair, but I still think like this is not where they want to be. Like, they'd much rather that Xerath meta where they will just poke from the safe line and eventually have these long drawn out late games. And this is much more of an aggressive get early barons, get early pushes off, and they seem to just not be ready for this. That's not their style. So
Janair is currently 4-2, and they've 2-0'd IM and 2-0'd Anarchy. So
I
they've
think,
2-0'd two of the worst teams in the league.
and they've lost to KT. So I mean, it's. I think it's going to be really telling when we see SKT play them, because that'll really be the true test of where is Janair stand, and most likely I think it will be a big stomp, but compositionally wise, I think I want to see like what they're going to pull out, like when they pulled the big guns.
Yeah, well, that's going to move us on to next week. Any games look like they're going to stand out? Because this looks like a pretty sad week to me.
Another week of not that exciting.
Najin versus
Like,
IM. Najin versus. I mean, not.
If we're getting excited for IM games,
it's gonna get bad, but let's see how bad and if Najin can actually maybe win. That would.
Well, the things I was saying, I pointed out, is Ku has to play against SKT and CJ, the number 1 and number 2 teams this week, and it's going to be their real test of can they try and sneak a game from one of those. I don't think they can. I think it's probably going to be a 2-0 and a 2-1 respectively, but it's going to be a real test. If they want to try and come back, this is the week to make a statement and show everyone, hey, we last split was not a fluke.
No.
I mean, we do have a replay of the finals. We have, SKT versus Ku. Is there any hope here? With this Ku is just such a slump that there can't even be a blue turtle shell here at all from Ku? Or is it just they're too far behind at this point?
It doesn't even look close right now. I mean, they lost to Najin. They're barely holding on to Samsung. Against Samsung. SKT is just gonna dominate them. Unless they play easy one, maybe, then might actually get super late game, and you never know what happens then.
Then again, you had Tom and Easy who beat them. I mean,
I'm not saying they're gonna win, but like,
yeah. The next thing I pointed out is that Janair again has 2 easy wins that if they want to stay in contention for playoff race, they need to pick them up. They're playing against Samsung.
Yeah.
They're playing against Sbenu. They need to pick up 4-0.
Definitely. Or 4-2, whatever.
I mean,
they have to.
Yeah. But they got to pick up those wins. And the last one is IM is playing against Najin and KT. And can IM show that they are actually a threat that people thought they were when they swept promotional? But
I think I am still a little overrated. I think they're going to fall down a level. But then again, Najin is equally just as messy. So I think it's going to be to see great series to see who is being the messier team or who's more up to par, at least as. They at least will have a little bit. That's the thing about what's a solo game that day. So with Najin and IM, that's the match I'm really interested in because I want to see like if Najin at least gets maybe they bring in Peanut, maybe they have if they play Watch, then they should at least have a dominating win or some kind of really good early game. If they just are messing around the whole game and IM crushes them, they'll be good for IM. I think it's a really good series to see where these teams stand in the middle of the pack.
I actually hope IM crushes Najin, and then they finally will fucking swap out Watch, and then there's maybe still hope.
And Watch is just like, I'm retiring, and it's like, I'm gonna go back to streaming. He's a very popular streamer for China, apparently. His Doyu gets like, hundreds of thousands of views.
I guess he is.
So
it doesn't surprise me.
Pretty boy Watch.
He can do anything with that face.
Yeah, mash has some
So
yeah, you like
might have to just stay for the cameras.
I have no idea if IM's going to be able to make anything. It's just you said that they might fall down a pedestal, but you'd have to or they might fall down from where they were, but I don't know if they can fall from where they are. Like people may have been hyping
I
them
think
up,
they'll
but I'm
fall
like
down from the hype at least. Like I think it's
Yes.
like the story of IM every year. It's like, oh, maybe they might be good this year. It's like,
well, I think this is their best roster, and they're
this
not
is
gonna
probably their
get
best
relegated.
chance.
Like they're not gonna have to do promotions again. I don't think. But
This is the weakest Korea's ever been as
Well,
far as
what-
up the bottom half.
Is it what bottom two team? Who goes to relegations now? Bottom 2, bottom 3,
I think it's
bottom
bottom.
2 still.
I have no idea. I'm
I
assuming
think
it's
it's.
bottom
I
two.
think it's. I'm not sure if it's just similar as the LCS with the bottom 3, and then it's the 7th keeps their spot. I'm really
Well,
not. Sure.
because remember, playoffs in Korea is only the top 5, because it's still like you have to do
Yeah.
the 5 plays 4, and the winner plays 3, winner plays 2, winner plays 1.
Well, is there? I believe it's like they have the actual summer playoffs, and then they have the gauntlet set up, right, for Worlds, just for the 3rd slot.
No, because there's only 5 teams qualifying for for playoffs. 6 through 10 do not qualify for playoffs, so
Yeah,
it's going to be really weird to have a playoff with 5 people.
I guess
It's not a gauntlet.
Yeah, for Worlds they're gonna do the same thing like LCS have to, right? So somehow with points, I don't know. I don't even know they got points, but they must.
I
have
think
got-
it's just I think it's anyone who stayed in playoffs or avoid the up and down matches. But I think the gauntlet last year was a great format. It was really exciting. So hopefully we do see that
they
again.
always do that for the.
They did
Yeah.
get points, yeah.
They must.
There were 90 points for the winners, 70 for
Oh, yeah, so it's the
second
same.
place. Yeah.
Maybe then we'll see. Najin. It has to be every year. Najin will come to form. Peanut will come up, and Najin will just. They'll lose the whole
God.
series. They'll barely sneak into
Nah.
the gauntlet, and they'll sweep up again. They'll get into 3rd place again.
Watch will show up for 3 days, and then people are like, "Oh my God, he's back! He's the best jungler ever!" And then
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. That won't ever happen.
okay, well, let's talk about the low 4 men on the totem pole. Ignoring Najin, because Najin may be fighting to get into that illustrious group of the bottom 4, but
Yeah.
They're trying. They're trying really hard.
One more week and I'll degrade them to that.
do you guys see, just starting with Sbenu, do you see Sbenu taking any single series? Do you think they're going to get a single series win?
I'll say they could take. I think they could beat Najin if anything. If there's
Yeah.
any team to mess up compositionally wise, it's Najin. So that's like the one team that maybe.
No, I
And
think
of course, Anarchy might be at the same level as them. I think as far as at least strategy wise.
Well, Anarchy already has a win over Najin.
No, I meant
Yeah,
this.
but
Meant against
them.
over Sbenu.
Yeah, but I think Anarchy
Yeah.
still has a bit more.
Yeah, at least they have a bit more threat on their team. Even if it's one.
If they get Mickey some stuff, then
Yeah. So.
you could definitely beat Sbenu. Sbenu
I-
looks
I
bad.
think that
Terrible.
team's just done. I think that's just going to be the team coast of Korea at this
I
point.
mean,
I think Spenu's going to pick up some wins when teams just stop giving a shit in picks and bans and just
Yeah.
kind of just
that's it.
pick a random comp and they're like, wait, why do we have a Zyra mid? I don't know.
SKT T1 skin.
New support, Rek'Sai top. It's going to make a whole
Brand jungle.
brand mid.
I don't expect them to pick up a lot of wins. I mean,
Mm.
I would rather see them do more revolving door of their kind of roster and figure out within the next couple weeks who they want to keep in for the roster
Mm.
and then move from there, but without a significant improvement or a roster that clicks and starts to show any kind of game sense, I don't see
Yeah.
too much happening for them.
Yeah, I agree. I really don't think it's going to be. It's a complete uphill battle for them at this point. So
Well, we were talking about Anarchy. How do you guys think they're going to go? So we agreed Spenu's probably 10.
yeah, Svenbu's. I think it's a firm 10
They
right there.
convinced me this week. They'll stay there.
Okay, so
No hope.
Anarchy, I think they're going to end up number 9, but do you guys think
They're
they're
going to have like
any chance to
8,
get above?
7.
9 or maybe 8 if Najin goes 9. Najin goes 9th, then Anarchy goes 9th.
Ignoring Najin.
Alright,
No, we're not.
but
Okay.
Okay.
Moving on.
Okay, so just out of 4, I think they're going to be the bottom 3 out of
Okay.
the 4 teams we're going to talk about.
I'll
right
give them 8th at least. I think that they have a threat that is big enough that we even though it's not been great this week. I think if they could kind of pick themselves up and maybe diversify a little bit, or if Mickey gets on maybe like a Zed a couple games, like it might be a big enough threat to throw some people off. But if they just keep permanent banning Zed and they just keep Mickey down, yeah, I do think they'll stay ninth. But they have that weird upset potential. Just
So you think they're going to be able to beat Samsung then? Because they already got beat by IM once. I mean,
I think they can definitely beat Samsung.
Even with CV Max then?
I don't know.
Not CV Max, probably not. But with Ixu, they're okay. I think. Okay, that's just as much as I'll give them.
I don't think CV Max or Ixu are particularly good,
No.
but I think Ixu is a lot more able to not go all in for some random ridiculous reason.
We still saw even a little bit. Like I don't know if you remember in the Najin matchup, they played the Gnar versus Maokai matchup, and in the first game, Duke completely destroys him. I mean, he's playing obviously his Gnar, and he pokes him out of lane. So it's like, okay, well, we expected Duke to get a solo kill eventually in the series, especially with Ixu being so new. In the same series, they reversed the matchup, so now it's Duke on Malachi and Ixu on Gnar, and Ixu has like a really weird timing where he gets his like Gnar bar to full really close to his tower, so he tries to go like flash and use like all his abilities, and meanwhile Duke had his ultimate ticking the whole time. He just sucks up all the damage and just blows him up. So the fact that Duke got a solo kill on Ixu in the match reverse, that might be a small outliner, but I still think Ixu has a little bit way to go as far as his top lane. But I think he's adapting well with Lyra. Like they have really good jungle synergy. Some of their fights, like they were out fighting Watch and Duke together. So once again, it's a little bit of an outliner still, but maybe they can pick it up where the meta moves more in their favor, and we could see them actually build like that top jungle synergy, which is quite valuable in this meta. So. I
think Ixu's better for the team.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting. I don't think they're going to have too much. Again, I think they're probably going to have they're probably going to play the most games of any team in Champions, just because I think they're going to take almost everything to 3 games. Just the way they play. They took every game except for the Jin Air one to 3 games so far. So we'll see about that. Moving on, let's go to Samsung next. Kuve's been improving quite a bit. I think
it's not saying much.
I think they actually have a chance, depending on how Ku plays. I think they have a chance to make playoff. They have a chance to break into 5th. Like not a great chance, but like 5-10%.
I mean, if Kuvi and Crown pick it up a bit more, I think there's a good chance they can do some stuff like. The comms they're running and the very aggressive early game, and actually also the strategic early game, they look impressive sometimes, and they need to if they clean up their mid game shot calling a bit more, and the skill goes up a tiny bit, I think they have some chance to break out of that group and leave IM behind. Say like, you guys are.
I don't think Eve is the greatest, but the biggest revelation for the Samsung, just watching them play, is not any position besides Fury. He's watching Fury in team fights this like split versus last split.
Yeah.
The amount of just counting the auto attacks. I don't know if there was an issue with Wraith, because Wraith was kind of like the only shining star besides Eve on their previous. But it just seems like he's a lot more comfortable with Luna.
No.
And
he definitely adapted a lot better, and their bot lane has significantly improved. While I didn't even think Wraith was once again was a good player, just together as a duo, it definitely was a better fit.
It just didn't seem like they were ever really got comfortable.
Yeah.
So they have. Do you think we're ever going to see Ace again? Because I think they have Ace, Bliss, and Crown still on their team.
Ugh.
I hope we don't see Bliss again. I really hope we don't see.
As long as Bliss stays there.
Please, I don't want Bliss anymore.
No, Crown is.
What happens if Fizz becomes meta again?
They didn't even ban it some games, and they were still styling on him.
Yes, kinda. So
they were giving him like so much respect when he first was in. They're like, "Oh man, we have to ban Fizz like every game." And they're like, they let it through, and they're just like solo killing him in lane.
Oh yeah.
They're like, "All right, I guess he's just solo kill players."
Good old first 2 weeks when they still had some respect for my Samsung.
Yeah, there was a lot. They gave him a lot of credit. They're like, we have to ban Fizz. We cannot see Bliss's Fizz.
Yeah.
That leaves us with, last but not least, IM. And my biggest question I'll pose to you guys with IM is, should we see Roar or Sonstar as their AD carry?
I like
Because Sonstar was like, the only thing really doing well.
Yeah, I
consistently
like
with
that.
them.
My roar is good. Like I actually like their bot lane now, but it's not great. It's nothing spectacular. He's not always in position as well. Sometimes he's just like not in the right place. I know. I am as I am for me still. Sadly enough.
I think Sansar is in the same position that it's like he's the watch of their team. It's like we can keep him in, and like you'll watch is watch. Sansar is Sansar. Like you're not gonna expect that much, but that's kind of accepted at that point. But you're still gonna get that minimum like expected level of play that you might not get from the rookies. And he still has the long years behind him. You know, he's been around for a pretty long while at this point. So maybe you just need that experienced player. Like that was the reason why we had Kane for so long. Some other players have just been sticking around. So maybe that's what they need. And maybe at this point they're looking more like we could just grow in the town. We can take some of these losses and we could just work on Roar, who has been quite good. So it just depends on how they want to play it. If they want to, be more newer players, we need more rookie players. And right now I think they are doing the smart thing of letting the rookies play, which is something Najin should probably be doing too. But.
So, I think the hype for Frozen's finally frozen over. Finally dead.
He was very disappointing. His start is good. Like
he has some moments. He has his moments here and there. So I don't want to completely discount him, but I don't ever see him being up there. It's just hard because the mid pool in Korea is so stacked. So
I don't think we should be counting down on him. I just think the hype for him is finally cooled down. It's just the hype is done. We understand what he's going to do. He's had some really great Syndra plays, but Syndra's not really played anymore, and he is playing against probably the best position Korea has left from the Exodus is still a mid pool that knows how to play.
They could have They could have think of it last, but they could have had a Syndra flex pick for support and mid. Like that was. I mean, it's possible. They won that game. Come on. But no, I think I agree with you. I think the hype is killed a bit for Frozen, and I think the line probably stops around. I think if he's lucky to get into the middle of the pack, that's probably where he'll stay and have to just take a little bit of time to move up, or at least until Faker gets hit by a car or something. No longer until we remove some of the top talent, it's going to be a while for Frozen to really climb up there. So.
And then we have Tucson. What do you think about him? I mean, we've seen Score, we've seen Ambition. They've both, Score has been an aberration. Ambition's been steadily improving, but now you have Tucson, who used to pretty much be a second jungler.
Yeah, there was
and now he is the first jungler.
I think this is the strangest thing about that much, and it's just like they have so many lanes with like pretty good talent. Like I have 80 carry with all these guys coming up. We have top lane with some really good at the top level. We have mid lane completely stacked. Support is mingled around. And then we just have jungle, which is just giant pool of swaps and Bengi and like
random watch.
Yeah, watch. It's so like out of every if just for some way we could just steal a little bit of China's junglers or some other region's junglers. But it's just the weirdest thing that we not have.
Go with China. Let's take China.
We'll take China. We'll take China at least.
There's a lot of.
I was saying take some of the Koreans back.
Don't want them.
Maybe take Rush back or some of these other junglers that went away. Just bring them back, but it just seems so weird that we cannot find a good jungler really in Korea. Like I think Chaser was the one shining hope last split, but even then the meta shift hurt him really hard. So as far as going to Tucson, I don't. Yeah, Score is another one, but once again,
Score now.
They're all swapping, so it's so much time that they have to invest into this and. They're on the lower teams. Maybe Ambition was probably the best example of a higher, of the swap that actually placed well. But all these swaps placed pretty low in the rankings. We had Score and now we're gonna have Tucson. They're probably both gonna realistically be near like we're saying, the bottom 6, the bottom 4. So
no Score.
Yeah. So.
I don't know. I think.
Oh, Score probably be a little higher now.
I think KT actually has a really good chance of
making
Score
KT. KT should have a good chance.
Yeah. With the current teams, unless there's a significant meta change that KT can't deal with, I think Score they have a really good chance of going.
Yeah, no.
And
Score KT.
I don't know. Ambition hasn't been the worst, but he didn't really need to do much in the beginning. and he's been improving. It's you can see it's not his Jarvan, thank God. But
oh my God, not like his Jarvan.
Yeah, he is definitely improved, but you also feel like he's never gonna be real top class jungler at all. He's just gonna be another watch kind of jungler. He just has the luxury of having a strong team around him.
Now, we've talked about all four of the kind of lower level teams, excluding Najin, because hey, they have the talent that should not be that low.
Potential.
The talent on that team should not be that low. No, not potential. The raw talent should be able to just simply beat up they're just the big kids at the block should walk up to the little kid, punch him and steal his lunch money.
When you have like probably the best top laner in the league.
No, the MVP top laner of the league. He won
MVP.
He won MVP.
1,000 MVP points.
Guess what though? Duke currently has 0 MVP points. That's right. Watch has 200.
And I think Oku has one.
Oku has 100. I can understand Oku, but Watch, I mean, he did have one great Gragas game.
He has some Sejuani.
No, that one Gragas game, he definitely deserved it for me.
Yeah.
Without Duke doing something on that team, they don't. Without him being the beast that he is, it just seems like they don't make it. But going back to the 4 teams, do you think the lack of like all these forced role swaps and everything, do you think it might be indicative of the issues we've had with the challenger scene, and then now that they have two different tiers of challenger scene, and one of them is like as a team, and maybe like BetQ and his buddies from MKZ. So you have like a zombie IM team, and you have seemingly a little bit of a better winners, but doesn't seem to be the talent.
I think it's
like
the
most
issue.
of the talent's being absorbed elsewhere.
I think the issue really stems down is that we have a couple veteran junglers that Watch and Mangi not really leaving, and then we have 3 role swaps. I mean, like I said, score is pretty good now, but even then, we still have a lot of. This is like what's kind of holding Korea back from having that elite level team where we had White and K in the past. We don't really see like a complete domination that we used to in the past, especially that was shown at MSI where SKT was a little bit shaky, especially playing with Bengi. So I think the issue is more that we don't have these like world class, like super mechanical gods. They all left us. Like if any junk position could be stripped, we could strip mid lane down. We have a ton of those left. We could strip them top lane. There's a couple we could fill in, but for jungle, we really didn't have anything to fill in the holes. And by just role swapping, I don't think it's the greatest fix. Like it's going to take a lot of time to build it up, and that's why I think it's been so weak for jungle.
But do you think that might be indicative of the fact that, Korea has always been known for being able to make talent and make stars and make solo queue players into elite level players, and yet we have a challenger. It seems like Korea has a challenger scene that non-existent to just the extra players on the main teams.
I think it was just stripped. I'm saying, I just think it was just stripped too hard. I mean, like I said, there's a lot of teams around the world, especially, that are taking our junglers. Like, I mean, we have Snake. Yeah, we have Snake taking Beast. We have EU taking Reignover. These aren't. I'm not saying these are great players, but it's just the fact that they're taking that built-up talent that's supposed to be filtering up to the top of Korea. That's going across the sea. We don't have that. Like, we need that talent to be filtered into Korea, where instead we don't have that anymore. And I think that's why it's causing such a deficit.
It seems like the organizations are a little bit. I mean, challenger scene is not getting supported enough. That's for sure. Like it's horrible to think of that Korea, one of the better regions, best one really, has like no good supportive structure on challenger scene at all. Like every other region has probably a better one. I mean, at least NA, EU, and China get way better structure for their
I actually think it's a little weird. It's like more of like a reverse where it was so good at building up talent that it went too quickly. Like I said, the talent got bowed off so fast. So maybe this is just like a weird after effect of it, that Korea was so known for the infrastructure that it actually hurt them at this point. So maybe,
but at least like even now, like challenger teams for EU and NA, they get supported from organizations and also from Riot. They get all supports. While Anarchy still has no organization.
Yeah, I think you're referring to more Anarchy, where we just have Johnny apparently in the booth randomly.
That shouldn't happen. And yeah, Korea is not willing, and the organizations don't seem to be willing enough to pay to keep the talent here, or like invest a bit more to get some talent, or like back from China, or just buy them out, because like.
Well, I don't think they're gonna get them back from
Well,
China.
maybe not from China,
No,
but I'm just
I
saying,
think
like, why does EU and NA get to buy over like more weaker talent? Like, if
Well,
if they're
I think you're correct here on the organization thing. It's just because they're in the fear of that. Look, if you're a top tier jungler, like let's imagine you're let's take Beast for example. Even right? Imagine you're a really good jungler in Korea, and then you see Snake offer you all this money, or you could stay in Korea and you can stay with Anarchy, which has literally no sponsor. It doesn't even have a coach. It doesn't even have a gaming house. So like, why would you? You know, it's very hard to decline the offer. So I feel like if they work on, like you're saying, I think maybe it's fine in talent-wise, but as far as organization-wise, you're correct. I think they really do need to build it up with the fact that they can filter into lower some organizations that won't just be completely stripped down. Like, I mean, I think Zenix is probably the biggest example that every year Zenix has a good team, right? Some players, someone just poaches them. They're like literally the farming grounds.
Well, back when it was OGN champions and Zenix was just like, hey guys, we made it back in. And we lost. Oh, take our team. Hey guys, we made it back in.
We'll just take another player from you, so.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, it just, I don't know, it's surprising to see the lack of, that to see, like, NA and EU take players and give them a chance, like some solo queue players, specifically Hooney. Like, he was unknown beforehand, and just pluck him and be like, oh, we can put him in and then just see him explode. I'm surprised that Korean teams have just gone for, we'll just role swap someone instead of seemingly picking out the diamond in the rough that they've been able to do time and time again. But I mean, it might be like, I don't know. There's so many probable issues that have come with it. Either going through too fast. Contracts could easily be picked up for China, where you can make way more money. Challenger scene where you really can't show you're being developed, and teams may not want to take as much of a risk. I don't know. It just seems like a really, really weird thing to see such a lack of new blood really come in.
I mean, it already looks a lot better than the last split, but it's still surprising that we have to deal with Tucson going to the jungle position. That Wisdom gets picked up to Ku, and not actual new talent that's coming into these like bigger teams.
It kind of feels like NA, where they just kind of move things around and hopefully it works, and it's not like
better not. Better not.
Yeah, it's not that bad.
Would be so depressing.
It's not that bad.
It's not as bad as GG Jungle, but it's more in the sense that it just seems weird to me that they would choose that route. But I guess at this point they just have no choice. Like, if there really isn't if it's really that scarce of talent, and Score is becoming like one of the best junglers in Korea, that is, I mean, good for him. But at the same time, it's kind of scary. That kind of, what is it saying that when it comes to junglers,
they still have so many players in solo queue. Like,
they have
to try. Like, I can't believe that there aren't a lot of solo queue junglers in Korea that should be able to fit in some of these teams, or at least like one of the more bottom teams.
I think it's because it's so scarce. They had more selection. Like, we had the champions more. You know, we would see players get plugged in for one game. You weren't good, they were out. There was someone else right there to fill your shoes. Now it's like that's their one sub at best, maybe two subs if they're lucky, and probably both of them are like meh. So it's like everyone's trying to hit the next Faker gold mine, and they're never gonna find it again.
Oh shit.
Oh, I don't think anyone's gonna find a Faker.
Well,
I mean,
some solo queue.
I know what you mean though, but it's just surprise. I assumed spring would be pretty rough, and then the MSI would be rough for Korea. But I thought that over the off season they would be a bit more of they wouldn't be as reluctant to pick up or try out new things. But I don't know. We'll have to see. Maybe after Worlds, there might be a renaissance period where they pick up new talent. I don't know.
Still,
one can hope.
Sbenu has 9 players on the roster. Why don't the other organizations have more people on the roster? I find that very surprising. Sbenu can have 9 players, but
Maybe then the next in the Xenix line of being farmed out for the organizations.
but not from those.
They need to be a bit better if they want to be farmed.
Take some of their subs at least, or something like that.
Maybe I'm gonna play them.
Okay, well.
I don't know. It'll be interesting, but I think that's about it. I've run dry of topics.
Yeah.
Well, at least for this week.
Yeah. We'll see
So next week is going to be a fabulous fun week of sad.
Yeah.
I think it's more like I think this week is mainly just about figuring out where the middle of the pack is. I think we have a pretty good idea that the top is going to be KT, CJ, SKT, Jin Air kind of flowing around there. But really 5, 6, 7 is a really weird spot, and we don't know that. And that's what this week is going to determine, whether it's IM, Najin, or Samsung. So that's really the big tell. Like Ku is the one.
Ku as well.
Yeah. So those 4, I feel like you really see where they'll fail, and then we kind of have Anarchy and Sbenu at the bottom. So.
Yeah, it'll be interesting for that, but it won't be as exciting as watching
games.
CJ versus KT. Yeah.
Already can't wait for KT versus SKT. It's coming eventually. I have no idea when they play actually. But
SKT CJ week 4. Oh wow, they're not even playing till SKT is June 24th.
Wow, that's
the week of June 24th. So
long time.
Gotta wait.
Yeah.
While wait. Okay. Well, Anthony, thanks for coming on.
Thank you guys so much for having me.
Thanks.
And
see you
this was
guys
great. Hope we can come on in
week.
the future and see you guys next week.
Anytime.